We're off and running. Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. I'm your host, Matt Moore. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Make sure to check out the show on Twitter at Locked On Nuggets. I'm Matt Moore from the Action Network, joined by my co-host Adam Marez from DNVR. Adam, on today's show, we are going to talk about what we're looking forward to in preseason game number 2 for Denver versus those Portland Trailblazers in Denver tomorrow. We are going to talk about what the Giannis Antetokounmpo extension can tell us about the future of Nikola Jokic in Denver. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those Portland Trailblazers after the Nuggets declared that this is, in fact, not a rivalry. But
the Nuggets maybe not, but Will Barton did.
Will Barton did. Let's start the show with a discussion of what you want to see from game number 2. Now, I haven't had a chance to go back and watch the preseason film again. Have you had a chance to look over it again?
I have. Yeah, I went back and watched it a second time, combed through it. It was sloppy. Like the second time, it looked even more like a preseason game, which I think was, to be expected.
Sure.
I thought Michael Porter looked better on the second view than he did on the first. So there's that. He really, missed shots. I think if he makes a couple of those, it looks completely different. But it does lead me to what's number 1 for me on what I want to see tomorrow, what I'm watching for, which is Michael Porter. And I don't think it's horribly important. He could have 3 bad preseason games and I wouldn't read into it, but it'd be nice if he had one good one.
No, the dogs are barking for Michael Porter Jr.
Very excited about MPJ.
They're making a ruckus. Yeah, I think it would help. Like, I think it's obviously going to help if you had one. I think for him, so much of it's going to be trying to find. He had such an interrupted career, obviously at Missouri, and then he had such an interrupted career his first year in the NBA. That at this point, I'm at the point more of being like, what they really need to do is transition him from where he was last year, which was like do anything, just to have an impact in any capacity, to like, okay, how do you fit into this team? And that's going to be, I think, a more of a slow process that they're going to have to generate. I'm not expecting Jokic to light it up again. It just doesn't seem like that's a likelihood.
I am.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think Jokic is great and on a mission, man. I'm telling you, it's my full-on theory that Jokic is on a mission this year. I know it's preseason, but it's no nights off for Jokic. God, I'm going to regret saying that. But I'm going with it, man. I'm telling you, I think I don't know that he'll score 26 points on 11 shots, but I expect him to be engaged.
Okay. Bold. I like it. So you are thinking that he's going to like actually commit himself and give the full effort, which is I would think that it was like, okay, came up, got warmed up. All right, I'm good. Catch me in January, maybe February, maybe March.
Right. I'm curious, man. We'll see it. That is something to kind of watch for. I just, in my head, I've already written it off as, I got my whole theory with Jokic this year. And part of this is things you're hearing about his enthusiasm, his sense of enthusiasm and just joy at the moment. So we'll see. It's also against his buddy Nurkic, right? So you got that part of it. But
what do you think? What do you think is the cause for this resurgence of joy with him?
It's a great question. I really don't know, Matt. Any of this that we're talking about is like purely tinfoil hat Adam's theory. But I've said this before. I think Jokic is more motivated than we give him credit for. And I think young players have to run into a plateau before they realize that the margins matter. And I think that happened to Jokic last year, sometime around when Anthony Davis kicked his butt in December. I just think that there was an awakening of sorts of like, okay, it's time. Like I have to do some of these other things. And since that moment, he's just been a different player. So the fact that he lost all that weight during the 4-month hiatus, to me, not every player did, by the way, lose weight and stay in shape and this, that. He did. He comes back looking great.
I was just about to note that he lost all that weight. Don't worry, because James Harden found it.
Hey, James Harden did in fact find it, and then some. But then he goes off with a 2-month off season, a shortened one, and you thought nobody would begrudge these guys too much if they just were, hey, man, this was a short off season, my body's not ready. But it looks like he went even further and continued it. So I just put those two things together, and I think I'm optimistic that he has turned a new leaf. Skinny Jokic is the only Jokic left.
So maybe the biggest news from today's press conference is that Will Barton says he is good to go.
Big news.
He says that he is clear and feels good and is ready to rock. Now,
well, to clear up something, he didn't say he has been cleared. He's cleared himself. So,
sure.
so he said that. So he was asked, "Am I? Are you good to play tomorrow? Are you ready to play?" And he said, "I think so." He said, "I played for the last 2 days, 5-on-5, full contact, everything, nothing wrong with me." So, he said, "So I don't know why I wouldn't be." And then, of course, today they give tonight they gave the notes, the game notes for tomorrow. He is not on the injury report.
So expect him to play tomorrow.
That's big news, though.
It is. Let's start here. Do you want him to start tomorrow, or do you want to see him off the bench?
The tough one. I think off the bench. This is so tough because I'm so pro Will Barton, and I think that he is probably the better player than Gary Harris, and I like him. If you just ask me what's the more exciting lineup, I think him at the 2 is more exciting than Gary Harris at the 2, just if we're talking just that unit. But watching that second unit, Matt, and this was even more evident, I think, the second rewatch. Loved Compasso, loved what I saw from Monte. You're going to have to put some players around him. At PJ Dozier, as much as I'm a big fan of his, if he's going to be the third guy, you probably want him to be able to shoot and do some of the other things. Hartenstein and Green, you probably just want at least one other really good shooter out there. So I would rather probably see him off the bench as the backup 3.
This is a weird question that I never thought I would really be asking. How do you think Barton and Compasso would fit together?
Well, so what's interesting, and I actually, up on DNVR, I actually shared a video about this very thing. So the Nuggets played most of those minutes with PJ Dozier at the 3. And what actually ended up happening was you found a lot, especially when Jokic was on the court, you found a bunch of possessions with PJ Dozier and Jokic running pick and roll and the other 2 guards off. And I don't think because they're floor spacers, it was because you put your best pick and roll defender on one of Compasso or Monte. You put your second best pick and roll defender on one of Compasso and Monte. That means the third best pick and roll player is on that next guy. And if it's PJ Dozier, he's a very good pick and roll player. If it's Will Barton, even better pick and roll player. So I think if you put him there offensively, it works really well. Defensively, it's always going to be a question no matter who's alongside that group. Denver doesn't have a long, great defensive 3. So it doesn't matter if it's Dozier, it doesn't matter if it's Barton. They're going to be vulnerable. And I thought what happened in that first game was they were vulnerable to transition buckets more than anything. They gave up a bunch of transition baskets. So some of this is yin and yang, but I think he fits as well, or actually a lot better even than PJ Dozier. And I thought PJ Dozier fit well.
Yeah, fit's really important. And that's why I want to tell you about 10-10. This episode is brought to you by 10-10. And you may have read about this in the New York Times or Forbes, and we're excited to tell you about it. 10-10 is an exclusive collection of 10 one-of-a-kind engagement rings designed by 10 of the most distinctive designers working today. Using only diamonds responsibly sourced from Botswana, 10 designers, masters, have each produced a uniquely beautiful commitment ring, launching exclusively on January 18th at BlueNile.com. And when they're gone, they're gone. We all know the diamond engagement ring is iconic. It's a timeless expression of the deepest commitment between 2 people. And with 10-10, it's been beautifully re-envisioned in the hands of 10 modern designers working exclusively with sustainably sourced diamonds. If you're making 2021 plans or looking for a unique and meaningful way to celebrate Valentine's Day, you're definitely going to want to check this out. Again, this exciting limited edition collection of diamond engagement rings launches on January 18th, and you can preview it exclusively at BlueNile.com. Back here on Locked On Nuggets, thanks for making this part of your day. Matt Moore, joined by Adam Mares. Adam, so preseason game number 2 tomorrow, but there was some NBA news, and I think that we want to put it into a Nuggets context today. Giannis Antetokounmpo signed his Supermax extension. They had to twist his arm a little bit, but he did go ahead and accept the $218 million that he is getting from the Milwaukee Bucks. He is signed there for 5 years, made a big statement about how he wants to be there. This is home, et cetera, et cetera. So there are implications here. The reaction has largely been that this is a win for small markets, that he stays, that this proves that he's going to stay, that they kept him.
Oh my gosh. You have a contrary opinion here. I
don't. I don't.
You phrased it that way. You started. That's what it sounded like you were going.
I don't. I do think there's a middle ground to be found between this doesn't mean anything, he can still get traded, which isn't the case, and he's going to stay forever, which I don't think is the case either. I was asked today on a radio spot I did on You Better You Bet. They asked me, what do you think the chances are that he finishes this contract in Milwaukee? And I said 50-50. Now, like, Bucks fans will take it. They're just like, don't care. Like 2 years, you don't have to worry about it.
A 5-year contract usually means a 4-year contract. The last 2 years, your trade year.
Right. And that's been changing. James Harden, 2 years.
Trying to change it.
Right. So this is all a conversation. However, I do think it's meaningful. You needed someone, anyone, any of the major stars to say, like, no, I want to be here. Like, I want to be here.
Really needed it. Really needed it.
There was Dame, right? And now there's Giannis.
Yep.
There needs to be more of these in order for the league to really maintain any sense of balance. And, look, there's down the line, this conversation will come up with Nikola Jokic. Like, this will be a conversation with Nikola Jokic in the coming years. He signed his max extension, going to be around
not for a long time, but
probably not for a long time. You would think what you want to see is something similar to what both Dirk and honestly Harden until this year did, which is like they just took the extensions in season as much as they could, and that just kept it rolling. You'd like to see that so it doesn't become this off-season distraction. That doesn't become like he's only got 1 year left on his deal. What's he going to do? You're the Jokic whisperer, and I'm not asking you to predict down the line. I just do want to know, like, do you think that setting a new standard in the NBA helps at all, or is Jokic just going to do what Jokic is going to do?
I think there's a lot of Jokic is going to do what he wants to do, but it certainly helps that wouldn't be the only one. I mean, the more people you get do this. But here's, I think, what the real kicker is, Matt. Giannis stays in Milwaukee and they fall apart and they're not good, and he's starting to feel a little bit like Kevin Garnett where you're going backwards. That's the worst case scenario, because then everybody talks about what a bad decision Giannis was. But let's be honest, the Milwaukee Bucks have a very good chance of winning the finals this year. And if it's not going to be the Denver Nuggets, I'm openly rooting for the Milwaukee Bucks to win it. Again, if not the Nuggets, because what do you think? I'm so curious. This is what I think has to happen. Kevin Durant goes to Golden State, and there were enough people that anointed him the best player in the NBA, and okay, he's done it and earned it and this, that I think that it validates those types of moves. And then Anthony Davis goes to the Lakers and wins it. Is he the best center ever? Is he the greatest center we've ever seen? And it validates those players because they have to know that everyone on earth has a short memory when it comes to those types of things. And they might hate you for a year, they might hate you for 2, but if you win, they love you and you're the best thing ever. If Giannis does it though in Milwaukee, I really want, especially going up against Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, I really just want to see what people say. Do people treat it now as a more important title? I don't want to say more pure or anything, any of those words, but do people kind of put extra gravity to it? That's what I'm really curious to find out.
I mean, this is part of it is, legacy is everyone blanches at that word, but it matters to the players. And so I think if Giannis were to win a title with Milwaukee, it would be discussed differently. He did it on his terms. He did it his way. He didn't follow the same path that everyone else did, which is like go somewhere that's warm and nice, recruit your buddies, load up, get some role players that want to hang on and win a title, and get it done. And that's okay too. Like I've always maintained that these aren't moral decisions. Like when the KD thing came down, like I was deeply disappointed for the sport. But I made it clear, I'm like, this isn't a moral decision. Like Kevin
you just
Durant
don't have to like it. That's the differentiation. You don't have to like something. It doesn't have to be wrong. It doesn't have to be problematic. You just say, I don't like this.
Right. I didn't think it was good for the league. It wasn't good for the league. I don't think it was all those things. I want to transition and also talk about something else, which is when people describe NBA media, I get irked. Because that can mean one of 100,000 different things.
Yeah.
Like Jay Williams today was on SportsCenter talking about the extension and brought up like Jalen Horton Tucker with the Lakers. And
right.
Why? The commentary has been singled out as a real big problem in terms of basically like the TNT crew often basically says like, this game doesn't matter. These teams aren't winning a title. You don't need to watch this. These teams are irrelevant. The ESPN in-game crew tends to just complain about things. But a large function of coverage has been built around what's Giannis going to do? Where could Giannis go? Is Giannis going to join the Warriors? Is Giannis going to join the Heat? Is Giannis going to join the Raptors? You know, I think that there's been such an overload and revulsion towards that there is a chance that, like, look, the Harden thing's out there for sure, and that's going to be the dominant storyline. At some point, we're going to circle back around to talking about the actual basketball, and that, I think, like, that to me is like the best thing about the Giannis extension is the Bucks get to just be like, just focus on basketball
this whole year, this whole season. Yeah. And I'm curious to see how that affects the locker room and the team and their pursuit of this championship if it does take this big weight off of it, because I think it will. I think that was one of the real risks of him not signing that and going into the season, is they would have hung over everything, and it just, to win a championship, I believe, especially for a team like Milwaukee, is going to take near perfection. So I agree with you on that. The one thing, though, to our theory here, Matt, about the championship having more weight to it, which I think it does. I think it looks at Dirk's championship and says that one was a big one, right? You upset a super team. Right. But there's only so many Dallas Mavericks fans. There's only so many Milwaukee Bucks fans. And ESPN, and to your point, what you're talking about, the big networks, is ESPN the biggest of all of them. They're great at talking about the rumors and this or that. I don't know if they're great about talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo winning a championship and this or that. Like, I just don't know if that's in their wheelhouse. So LeBron wins it in LA. Feed that beast, baby. There's 50% of all NBA fans want to hear about that. They want to see the parade. Yeah. They want to buy the merch. They want to do all this. Milwaukee Bucks fans, I don't know. So, but I'm hopeful, man. I'm really, really hopeful that, especially when you saw Kevin Durant, and I think he saw some of that pushback with his championships, and why doesn't everybody think I'm the best? I won 2 in a row. I'm hopeful that if Giannis pulled it off, it would shift things significantly. And I don't know, is there anybody else that's like on the horizon that you look at and think, okay, they could do it for the team that drafted him, small market team?
Not yet. You gotta see.
Horizon. Jokic in Denver, Donovan Mitchell in Utah, maybe Embiid in 76ers. That's kind of a big coastal market, so I'm not sure if there's some crossover there, but those are the ones I guess I'm kind of looking at. Yeah.
Before we take a break, I do want to transition a little bit, and I want to bring this up to you.
Okay.
This is like a quick hitter. PointsBet has posted the odds to make the All-Star team in the Western Conference.
Okay.
Jamal Murray is at plus 110, almost even money to make the Western Conference. Now, a big factor here, Russ is gone. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Russ is in the East. There's a chance Harden winds up in the East by the time that the All-Star game rolls around.
It does open up some spots.
Opening up some spots would be a very big deal because you got Curry.
Steph Curry's in. Damian Lillard's in. So now you got Chris Paul, Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic in as a guard or a forward.
That's tough. That's a big one.
Yeah, that's kind of a big one.
I don't know if Chris makes it this year.
He's a name, though, and you know what? That Suns team could do well. I'm just trying to put out the contenders here, not necessarily the ones that are going to beat him. You got D'Angelo Russell. You've got De'Aaron Fox. CJ McCollum even a little bit. I still think it's tough, but that is a good point about Harden and potentially Harden and also Westbrook going east. Ja Morant. I mean, Ja Morant could he very easily leapfrog the line if he has the right amount of highlights and points.
Devin Booker going to get in his guard.
Devin Booker. Oh man. Okay, even money, huh?
Yeah, gonna be tough. Gonna be tough. But I do think, like, if he makes the leap that everyone's expecting, it's gonna be there. But what does that mean? Like, that's kind of the question. Is like, what does that mean? 22-7. Does that get him there?
I don't see him going that much higher than that. I really don't. I don't know.
It'll be interesting though, because he'll have so much more attention now.
He will have a lot of attention. Yeah.
The biggest thing for him is just raising his floor. That's the biggest thing. If he can just not have as many nights where you're just like, where is he? Like,
he was also the first guy from the Nuggets. It's funny how they've gone from the young Nuggets to the veteran Nuggets, because he's the first guy that said, "Oh, I hope the playoffs were just here. I wish we could fast forward," because he's already dreading this right?
Yeah.
Once you get the taste of the playoffs, you realize how unimportant the regular season is, and I'm afraid he might be hyper aware of that. So, but we'll see.
One thing that can get you through those is rivalries, but you have to be willing to engage in those. We'll talk about that next. But before we take a break, I want to tell you about Headspace. Life can be stressful even under normal circumstances, and 2020 has challenged even the most difficult times of life. You need stress relief that goes beyond quick fixes, and that is Headspace. Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations and an easy-to-use app. Headspace is one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research. Science matters. So whatever the situation, Headspace really can help you make you feel better. Overwhelmed? Headspace is a 3-minute SOS meditation for you. Need some help falling asleep? Headspace has wind down sessions their members swear by. And for parents, Headspace even has morning meditations that you can do with your kids. Headspace's approach to mindfulness can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and increase your overall sense of well-being. They're backed by 25 published studies on its benefits, 600,000 5-star reviews, and over 60 million downloads, including myself, who I'm actually going to start doing the meditations with my kiddo before we do school in the mornings. He needs some focus, and I want to try and get him into a better sense of mindfulness. So we're actually going to start doing that. Headspace makes it easy for you to build a life-changing meditation practice with mindfulness that works for you on your schedule, anytime, anywhere. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple. Go to headspace.com/lockedonnba. That's headspace.com/lockedonnba for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. This is the best deal offered right now. Head to headspace.com/lockedonnba today. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Final segment here on Locked On Nuggets. Matt Moore alongside Adam Mares. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. Really appreciate it. I'm grateful that each and every one of you chooses to spend your time with us. Adam, tomorrow the Denver Nuggets are going to play a preseason game versus the Portland Trailblazers. These two franchises have been a little entangled over the last 5-6 years. Will Barton was once a Portland Trailblazer and has now become a key part of the Denver Nuggets. Yusuf Nurkic was drafted by the Nuggets and was going to be their all-star center alongside Emmanuel Mudiay.
I don't remember that part. That's new. I didn't remember that one.
And now Yusuf Nurkic is the starting center for the Portland Trailblazers. These two teams met, obviously.
Carmelo. Don't forget Carmelo.
Sure, that's a thing as well. These two teams met in that second-round series 2 years ago with the Blazers eliminating them in 7 games because Evan Turner and Myers Leonard decided to have themselves a game. Today, Will Barton said that this is not a rivalry.
Yeah.
I don't know if I buy that. I'll say this. I guess I believe it. And the reason that I do believe it is I was coming down the stairs to do this podcast, and I was thinking, who is the player for the Blazers that Nuggets fans hate?
Nurkic.
Okay. There's a couple of things here. One, you at times have been like, I don't even know if it was Nurkic's fault. Like, you've kind of like hinted a little bit.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter though, man. Here's the thing. He quit on the team. And I'm not saying that he got the job done. This was even, remember Wilson Chandler, I think, clapped back at you one time saying this, like, hey, if you don't say nothing, they won't trade you, and then you don't get what you want. Like, this is how the NBA works. So this goes back to I don't really care to litigate what's ethical here or what's right or what, because it's sports and I just don't know that it's that heavy. But did he do wrong by the team I like openly? Absolutely. Did he force the Nuggets into a pickle? Absolutely. Ergo, I root against him. Doesn't mean I have to hate the guy, but I want to see him lose every time he steps on the court.
Okay. So beyond Nurkic, is there anybody else on the team that Nuggets fans can really say they dislike?
I think, again, a playoff series, I don't know that you can go through a playoff series and not have somebody you dislike on the other squad. Yeah. That's just natural. Like, you go through that, and then fans are like, hey, man,
like Paul George, Marcus Morris, Montrezl Harrell.
Oh, it's easier when you beat the team, because then you're almost like, it's like petty. You're just like, oh, I don't even think about you, like, whatever. Right. But if you lose to a team, of course. Right. So Enes Kanter the reason I brought that up was Kanter's the other one. Now, if I see a picture of Kanter, do I have these like feelings, this fire in my belly that's like, oh no. But you know what? he beat the Nuggets. So like you root against him.
Players never want to admit these things are rivalries. They just never do. They never want to engage in it, and it's such a bummer, honestly. It's one of the reasons why I'm very much in favor of the idea of limiting the number of out-of-conference games and increasing the number of in-division games. Like, if you were to face the Blazers more than 4 times this year, if you face them 6, that I think breeds more of a rivalry than if you just play them the 4 times, spread out over 4 or 5 months. It just doesn't foster it. Like, the other thing I think the NBA should do is, like, here's an idea. Take all of your division games and put them all inside of a week. And like, if you face them when you've got injuries, that sucks. Like, that's too bad. Yeah. But it would be so much better for it to be like, okay, well, they're going on this 4-game road trip. And then when they come back, it's Blazer week. Like, building those into the schedule, I think would be a really cool way to be able to add these kind of rivalry things, because it's just baseball and football both have these things. And in the NBA, in part because the playoffs are the only thing that matter, and those matchups change every year, but also because like what's the biggest rivalry in the NBA? Lakers, Celtics. What's like the second biggest rivalry in the NBA? Like, for a while, it was Warriors, Cavs. Like, there are these things, but they're all built on those kind of stages when it's like, no, like they need to have some sense of familiarity in them. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't even mind. I mean, it makes things a little bit wonky because sometimes there's just horrible divisions. The Southeast, it seems like it's been horrible forever. But I wouldn't even mind like the division meaning something. You win the division, it's like you get a little, some kind of bonus there. And I wouldn't mind that, but they really don't mean a whole lot. And then also, Will Barton referenced this today when he was asked about it, about the rivalry and maybe coming from there. Does it mean anything? And he said no, because none of those guys are around other than Dame and CJ. Right. Granted, they're the faces of the team, but literally no other players are on the roster still. So, and I think that's more common in the NBA now than ever before, where you play a team, and even if you play them in a playoff 2 seasons ago, it's a different cast of characters by the time you see them 2 seasons later.
Yeah, and this is that also ties into another problem that the NBA has. If you ask the Blazers who are your rivals or their fans, who do they say?
Blazers? Lakers?
Yep.
Everybody says the Lakers. Yeah, the Lakers.
If you ask the Nuggets fans, who are their rivals?
That's true.
It's the Lakers. Yeah. If you ask the Lakers, are the Blazers and Nuggets your rivals?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Like, this is a serious issue. Like, this is a major problem. Yeah. Sports are great when there's rivalry and tension. You can't have it all be one way. It just can't be that. Like, that's not good. It needs to have some sense of like healthy dislike between the two. And that comes only from familiarity, which is why I genuinely think if you bumped up the number of division games and then you had the playoff series, like, I think that will definitely create it. Now, if Denver faces Utah again, I think that's probably going to get that'll get chippy. That'll get to be a problem. Yeah. You don't think so?
Back-to-back years, yes. I mean, that's where you really get rivalries, right? When you start to see them over and over again. So back-to-back years, absolutely. Last year's season, it didn't really get chippy, but it was just really, really close. And then we saw it. I don't know if you saw it today. And answer me if you think this is intentional, or not. Jamal Murray, who is not great at coming up with nicknames, has nicknamed Compasso Spider-Man. Donovan Mitchell, the Nuggets did a whole Photoshop today, put it on social, Compasso with a little web coming out of his fingertips. And it's like, okay, Donovan Mitchell quote tweets this with like that kid, like giving the like rolled eyes look or whatever, like, clearly being like, come on, dude, what are you doing? That's my nickname. What do you make of this? 1, I think it's a horrible Jamal Murray nickname. 2, I think he might be trolling Donovan Mitchell on purpose.
I could definitely see Jamal trolling him on purpose, considering like we know they're kind of buds because like Jamal was like waving to him out after the game. Like, dude just dropped 50 on me and now I have to see him.
There's genuine respect. Genuine respect.
Right. Yeah. Don't steal other people's nicknames. That's not a thing. That's not a thing.
Are you talking about Superman, Dwight Howard?
Now I will say this. The biggest thing that bothers me in the nickname game is you do not get to select your own.
Yeah. This one, he's giving it to Facu, who already has like 6 nicknames that are all better than Spider-Man. None of those are
just keep that one. Just keep whatever. What's his
magician? He was the magician.
He's
really
Facu. He's El Mago. Is it El Mago? Is that
Facu?
Yeah, is El Mago? Is that how it's
said? I don't know. Are you talking about the magician?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that. I have not seen that.
I think there was like another. I think that somebody else was called that.
Probably has. I'm telling you, he has like 5 nicknames. So he probably
my favorite of all time is Gallo being the Rooster.
That's a great one.
That's unbelievable. Just with everything that we know about Gallo, that's so amazing.
I don't think nicknames have to be cool. Some of your best nicknames are like not cool, fat, or something like that. And they become terms of endearment. They're never insultive. So. The Rooster, nobody wants to be the Rooster, but it's cool. I dig it.
I wish that there was the possibility of a rivalry because I just think that it makes the sport better. I wish that not everybody was trying to be rivals of the Lakers because
it's true, and it's not everybody's trying to be rivals with the Lakers. It's just that they are gifted everything, so everybody hates them.
Well, yes, I understand, but also I think it's because we we rivals because we got to beat them because they're between us and where we want to go. And everybody, they're between everybody because of how uneven it is. You got anything else before we wrap up today's episode?
I'm just excited, man. We got a game Wednesday, we got a game Friday, and then we're into the week of the season, man. So
basketball starts in a week. NBA regular season starts in a week. That's wild.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see tomorrow. Like Denver, none of this stuff matters. They could get blown out in 3 preseason games, and it wouldn't really matter. But I would like to see them look more coherent and cohesive as a group. So that's what I'm hoping for tomorrow. That you just get some of those glimpses of that's a great team with great talent that plays together.
All right, we'll be back to react to that game tomorrow. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Locked On Nuggets. Rate, review, and subscribe. For Adam Mares, I'm Matt Moore. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Nuggets.